The forbidden questions. How men lose their frame. There's a question every man will face from a woman. And most men answer it wrong, not because they're weak, but because they've been conditioned to believe the right move is to explain, to justify, to hand over their frame on a silver platter. It sounds harmless. It sounds like curiosity. But it's not. It's a test. And the man who takes the bait, the one who tries to explain himself like a boy caught doing something wrong, will never be seen the same again. She might still smile. She might still stay. But something shifts. Something breaks. The pedestal you once stood on begins to crumble. Here's the brutal truth. Once you've shown her that you need to justify yourself, once she sees you scramble to prove your worth, you can never fully get that magic back. So what's the question? It takes many forms. Why are you with me? What do you even see in me? Why not someone else? Sounds innocent, right? It's not. Because the moment you answer, you step into her frame. And when that happens, she stops following your lead. Women don't always test with fights or silence. Sometimes the test comes disguised as sweetness, as curiosity, vulnerability, or affection. But make no mistake, it's still a test. What she's really asking is, will you break your composure to prove yourself to me? Because women aren't drawn to explanations. They're drawn to presence. They're drawn to the man who doesn't scramble to justify himself because he doesn't need to. That's what this video is about. 7 forbidden questions women ask, and why you should never answer them directly. Instead, I'll show you how to stand firm, how to flip the frame, and how to hold her respect tighter than her desire. Each lesson will hit hard, anchored in psychology, sharpened by Stoic wisdom, and backed by real stories of men who either failed the test or passed it with unshakable composure. By the end, you'll understand why Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Because the real battle isn't about her question. It's about your frame. And the man who refuses to defend himself is the man she can never forget. Lesson 1. Never answer, "What are we?" with weakness. Every man faces this question eventually. Maybe it's after weeks of dating, maybe after one night of intensity. She looks at you and asks softly, "So, what are we?" It sounds innocent, even sweet. But it's one of the most dangerous traps you can fall into. Because the moment you rush to define things, to explain, to reassure, to lock her down, you've already lost. Women don't ask this to hear your words. They ask to feel your frame. They want to know if you're grounded, if you're certain, if you can lead without seeking permission. The man who scrambles to define the relationship reveals the very thing she fears most, insecurity. Tom, 48, learned this the hard way. He was seeing a younger woman who was fascinated by his confidence and composure. But when she asked, "What are we?" he panicked. He poured his heart out, told her she was special, told her he saw a future. He thought that would make her feel secure. Instead, she pulled back. Her attraction cooled. Because his answer wasn't leadership, it was fear. Adrian, 52, faced the same question. But instead of scrambling, he leaned back, smiled, and said calmly, "We are what I decide we are. And right now, I'm enjoying this." Then he changed the subject. She laughed. She leaned in closer. Because she felt his certainty. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Stop explaining. Stop defending. Be the man." When she asks, "What are we?" don't answer with words. Answer with presence. Lesson 2. Never answer, "Why are you with me?" with justification. Sooner or later, she'll ask, "Why are you with me?" It sounds innocent, even flattering. But the question isn't about your answer. It's about whether you'll collapse into proving yourself. Most men take the bait. They start listing reasons, because you're beautiful, because you're kind. They think it will reassure her, but it does the opposite. The more you justify, the more her attraction drains away. Because justification is weakness, and weakness kills desire. James, 42, learned this too late. His girlfriend asked, and he responded with a long, emotional speech about how much she meant to him. She smiled politely, but days later, her texts slowed. Weeks later, she was gone. Michael, 50, handled it differently. When asked, "Why are you with me?" he smirked and said, "Because I choose to be." Then he changed the subject. Simple, direct, powerful. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." When you justify yourself, you crave approval. When you choose without explaining, you project abundance. And abundance is irresistible. Lesson 3. Never answer, "Would you change for me?" with compliance. At some point, she'll test you with this one, "Would you change for me?" Or, "Would you stop doing that if I asked?" It seems harmless, maybe even sweet. But if you answer yes too quickly, you've betrayed yourself, and she knows it. A man who changes his essence to please a woman loses her respect instantly. Daniel, 44, was admired for his independence. But when his girlfriend teased, "Would you stop seeing your friends if I didn't like them?" he replied, "Of course, if it bothers you." She smiled then, but within weeks she pulled away. She no longer saw the man who stood firm. Adrian, 53, got the same question. He smiled and said, "No. This is who I am. You'll either love it or you won't." She laughed, playfully hit his arm, and kissed him harder than ever. Because strength invites surrender. Epictetus said, "Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourselves." The man who bends for approval becomes a servant. The man who stands firm becomes a leader. Lesson 4. Never answer, "How much do you make?" with full disclosure. When she asks, "How much do you make?" don't panic, and don't answer directly. It's not about money. It's about whether your worth depends on it. A man who flaunts his wealth reveals insecurity. A man who hides reveals fear. But the man who's unfazed, who treats the question as meaningless, commands respect. Richard, 46, made the mistake of answering with full details. She smiled, but soon treated him like a provider, not a partner. Ethan, 39, handled it differently. When asked, he smirked and said, "Enough to do what I want when I want." And that was that. Her curiosity and attraction grew. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Your bank account isn't your strength. Your composure is. Lesson 5. Never answer, "Do you love me more than?" with comparison. She'll eventually ask, "Do you love me more than your ex? Your work? Your freedom?" Don't fall for it. Love isn't a competition, and the moment you compare, you lose. Because comparison is weakness dressed as reassurance. Tom, 45, once answered, "Of course I love you more than my ex." She smiled, but knew he was lying to make her feel safe. That insecurity grew until it destroyed them. Michael, 51, responded differently, "My work is my mission. My love for you is my choice. They're not the same, and I won't compare them." She didn't pull away, she leaned closer. Because he stayed grounded in truth. Seneca said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." A man who lives by comparison drifts. A man who knows his direction commands calm seas. Lesson 6. Never answer, "Would you still want me if?" with reassurance. This one often comes late at night. Would you still want me if I gained weight? Lost my looks? Couldn't give you what you wanted? It sounds vulnerable. But if you rush to reassure, you fail the test. Because women don't truly crave unconditional love, they crave inspired love. The love of a man whose standards make her want to rise. Alex, 47, said, "Of course, I'll love you no matter what." She smiled, but something dimmed. Adrian, 55, answered, "You're not planning on that, are you?" She laughed, and pulled him closer. Epictetus said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them." When she asks, "Would you still want me if?" she's not testing your love, she's testing your standards. Hold them. Lesson 7. Never answer, "Are you afraid of losing me?" with fear. This is the final test, the one that separates men from boys. She looks at you and asks, "Are you afraid of losing me?" Most men melt. They say, "Of course I am. I couldn't live without you." They think it's romantic. It's not. It's surrender. The moment you admit fear of loss, you place your peace in her hands, and she can no longer trust your strength. Brian, 49, did exactly that. His girlfriend smiled when he said he couldn't live without her, then slowly withdrew. Because she sensed the shift. Daniel, 52, was different. When asked, he said calmly, "No. I don't live in fear of loss. I enjoy what we have while it lasts." She stared at him, then kissed him deeply. Because freedom is magnetic. Marcus Aurelius said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live." Don't fear losing her. Fear losing yourself. Because when you live in fear, you stop leading. And when you stop leading, you stop being the man she fell for. The final lesson: presence over explanation. Every forbidden question isn't about the words, it's about the frame. She doesn't want your explanations, your defenses, or your lists of reasons. She wants your presence. Weak men defend. Strong men don't need to. Weak men explain. Strong men simply are. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Likewise, the strength of your relationships depends on the quality of your frame. Protect it. Live by it. Led from it. Because the world doesn't respect explanations, it respects presence.